Today, Peppa and her family are going on a seaside adventure. They're going to meet a special new friend at the beach. Let's see who they find. Peppa, George, Mummy Pig, and Daddy Pig are walking down the sandy beach with their towels, buckets, and spades. I love the beach. We can build sandcastles, collect shells, and splash in the sea. Peppa exclaims excitedly. George, always enthusiastic, adds, Dinosaur, roar. Mummy Pig gently reminds everyone, don't forget to put on your sun cream. Everyone, it's important to stay safe in the sun. They set up a spot with their beach umbrella and begin their fun day by the water. Peppa and George start building sandcastles with their buckets and spades. Look at my big sandcastle. It's the biggest one ever. Peppa says proudly. George, trying to compete, shouts, Castle. Dinosaur. George tries to add a toy dinosaur to the top of his sandcastle, but it collapses. Oh, George, your dinosaur is too heavy. Peppa laughs. The narrator chimes in. Peppa and George are having lots of fun building their sandcastles. But what's that crawling by the water? A small red crab is scuttling along the shore near Peppa and George's sandcastles. Look, George, it's a crab, Peppa says in surprise. Crab, pinch, pinch. George responds excitedly. The crab moves quickly across the sand, and Peppa and George follow it, curious. Be careful, Peppa. Crabs can pinch if they feel scared, Daddy Pig warns. Peppa, giggling, reassures, don't worry, Daddy. We'll be gentle. The narrator adds, Peppa and George have found a new friend, Mr. Krab. Let's see where he's going. Mr. Krab scuttles across the beach towards some rocks, and Peppa and George follow closely behind. I think Mr. Krab is going home, Peppa guesses. The crab disappears into a little hole by the rocks. Home. Krab's house. George explains. Mummy Pig explains. Crabs live by the rocks, where they can find food and stay safe from big waves. Peppa admires. Mr. Krab has a lovely home. Maybe he'll come back out to play. After meeting Mr. Krab, Peppa and George decide to splash in the shallow water. The water is so nice and cool. Let's splash. Peppa says excitedly. Peppa and George jump up and down in the small waves, laughing and splashing each other. Splash, splash. George shouts. Suddenly, Mr. Krab comes back out and starts scuttling near the water, joining in the fun. Look, George, Mr. Krab is playing in the water with us. Peppa laughs. The narrator notes, Mr. Krab loves the sea just like Peppa and George. Peppa, George, and their parents start collecting seashells along the shore. Seashells come in all different shapes and sizes. Look at this one. Daddy Pig points out. It's so pretty. Maybe Mr. Krab lives in a shell like this, Peppa says, holding up a shell. Shell house. George echoes. They find all sorts of colorful seashells and add them to their bucket, with Mr. Krab scuttling nearby. What a wonderful collection of seashells you've made. And Mr. Krab seems to like them too, Mummy Pig says. Peppa and George sit down with their family for a picnic on the beach, with sandwiches, fruit, and juice. And this picnic is delicious, Peppa says, munching on a sandwich. Yum, George adds. Mr. Krab scuttles by their picnic blanket, looking curious. I think Mr. Krab wants to join our picnic. Peppa giggles. Crabs don't eat sandwiches, Peppa. Daddy Pig laughs. The narrator says, Mr. Krab is just saying hello before he scuttles back to his home by the rocks. As the day at the beach comes to an end, Peppa and George wave goodbye to Mr. Krab. Goodbye, Mr. Krab. Thanks for playing with us today. Peppa says, Bye, Krab. Pinch, pinch. George adds. The narrator concludes, Peppa and George had so much fun at the beach, and they made a new friend too. What an adventure!